You're not hollow.
You're wrong. That nickname suits me. I'm so used to ugly things. Which means ugly is all I can give you.
As us humans are full with so many complex emotions, emptiness is one of them. Emptiness is that feeling you get when you just can't simply feel. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you hang out with your loved ones, no matter how many times you hang out with your friends, no matter how many times you spend your time doing the exact same thing that made you happy yesterday, does not make you happy today. As a matter of fact, it doesn't make you feel anything at all. And this feeling of emptiness is inside all of us. And if there's something that Naruto taught me, is that you cannot run away from this empty feeling. You cannot run away from these negative emotions that you harbor inside of your mental. You have to embrace it. It's a part of you. It's a part of who you are in the human experience. But I would be quite a fool to say that emptiness is the key to happiness, because in most cases, it can be quite the opposite. Sometimes the emptiness can consume you. Sometimes the emptiness can eat you alive. And sometimes the emptiness can chew you up and spit you out into something you can't even recognize. But what exactly is this feeling? Who exactly do you become after you leave the mouth of the beast? And more importantly, is it too late to come back? All of these are questions once asked by people who have been in a similar state, a state of utter despair, anguish, and emptiness. But I don't think there are better answers than when looking at Gabimaru, the main character of Yuji Kaku's best-selling manga and Mappa's new installment to the spring season, Hell's Paradise. But these answers don't come so easily, so first we must understand the life of Gabimaru. To say the very least, his upbringing was quite dramatic, and it's because of this traumatic upbringing is the reason why you see Gabimaru in the first episode like this. Gabimaru's upbringing, before anything, was one of absolute terror from the very start. Prior to his birth, Gabimaru's parents tried to flee the village and try to look for a better life, but the village chief, upon hearing this news, trod over to the residence and slaughtered his parents in front of them, slaughter his parents in front of a young, unbeknowing Gabimaru infant. The chief tells baby Gabimaru that he is disgusted and he's appalled by his parents' weakness. And this, what he sees in front of him, is the truest form of weakness and vulnerability in man, and this disgusts him. And he goes on to say that the birth of their newborn child was a spawning point of their weakness, and since they are now weak, they must be exterminated, because as shinobi, weakness is not a virtue, so anything straying away from strength and solitude has to be punished with death. And as the chief is going on in this rant, he is now cradling baby Gabimaru in his arms, almost signifying a change in parentship, a parent that is strong and not weak and not one deserving to die. And additionally, this scene signifies the end of Gabimaru's short-lived but old life and a transition to a new one full of strength, void of love and all those emotions that can get you killed. In this new life he lived, Gabimaru proceeded to live life full of strength and solidarity and with no room for weakness, and through that he became Iwagakure's top shinobi and actually got the interest of the chief who slaughtered his parents. This chief, who was once a source of trauma in Gabimaru's life, now acknowledges his strength and acknowledges his void of weakness and entrusts him with the hand of his daughter in marriage. And as he lives his new wed life with his new wife Yui, he proceeds to be Iwagakure's top shinobi, killing thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people in the process. And through seeing so many people die at the hands of him, Gabimaru has shed all sense of emotion and all sense of humanity. He has become the exact soldier that the chief has wanted him to be. But over the years as a husband, Gabimaru grows frustrated with his wife Yui as he feels that she has become a hindrance on his shinobi work, saying things like, "It's normal to not want to kill people," or "I think one day we should go and live a normal life." All things that caused him to want to leave the village of Iwagakure. He couldn't stand his wife, and before he did something that would get him into serious trouble, he requested to the chief that he leaves the village. And it seems like the chief is open to the idea of Gabimaru leaving. After all, he is Iwagakure's top ninja. He's done his duty here. But just like when it seemed all too good to be true, Gabimaru was then arrested and attacked by his comrades, now facing the death penalty for trying to leave the village. And this ending to Gabimaru's backstory has an all too poetic conclusion, as his entire life he's been trying to run away from who his parents have become, but in the very end, he shares the exact same fate as them. And this brings us to the Gabimaru you see in episode 1. In episode 1 of Hell's Paradise, it begins with Gabimaru's execution. It begins with Gabimaru on his knees, waiting for his life to end. You see Gabimaru as this apathetic, not caring, and dare I say, empty individual. And this emptiness in Gabimaru is quite startling once you know his backstory, as even though he was a ruthless murderer and killer for the Iwagakure village, he was someone with a sense of purpose. So seeing Gabimaru like this is very unsettling, and it's even more so once you hear the words come from his mouth, "I don't want to be alive anymore." The desire to not exist is quite a strong one, as the desire to live is almost just as strong. But once you enter this state, it becomes very, very hard to shake. And the root of this desire comes from the existential emptiness that fills the heart of Gabimaru. And once you're feeling like this, it can have some pretty dangerous results. You see, the thing about feeling empty is that the frustration doesn't come from not being able to feel happy. It's the fact that you don't feel anything at all, and honestly, you're rather indifferent to all situations. It's almost as you're an inanimate rock, experiencing all these experiences with having no thoughts, no emotions, no chemical reactions to anything you see in front of you. You're just watching life pass in front of you. And since all the human experience is the emotions you feel throughout these interactions, if you lack the ability to feel these emotions, what's the difference between that and just not being alive? It's a very scary mind state to be in, as you feel like there's no hope left for you, as your emptiness is not just rock bottom, but an infinite void and an abyss that has no end. And this exact mind state is perfectly encapsulated in Gabimaru's behavior, as the episode begins with the narrator describing how gruesome and how horrible execution is. And Gabimaru's face is just indifferent to it all. He spends the first half of episode 1 trying to die, as they are trying numerous ways of trying to execute him, but due to his tough and almost immortal-like body due to Iwagakure training, they just can't kill him. And this is frustrating to him, as Gabimaru clearly wants to die, but he just simply can't. But this whole time, a famous executioner, Sagari, has been watching his every move and has been interviewing Gabimaru to understand who he truly is. Sagari is one of the best executioners that her clan has ever seen, and in her studies realizes that she can in fact kill Gabimaru and has the ability to the next day. And during this next day, Gabimaru is at a point where all else has failed. It seems they have tried everything to kill this man: crucifixion, burning, death by bulls, or even beheading. None of it has worked, as Gabimaru seems immortal. But this is until he finally meets the blade of Sagari. And now that he's stuck inside of a room with the Yamada clan's best executioner, something weird happened to Gabimaru. He actually felt an emotion this time, for the first time in God knows how long. But the emotion he felt was fear. Fear that he might actually die. And as Sagari's blade keeps swinging for his neck, Gabimaru almost instinctively dodges these attacks and all of a sudden is fighting for his life. And since Gabimaru wants to die, he's confused why his body is betraying him like this. But there's only one person in that room who isn't confused. It's Sagari. She has done all the research possible on Gabimaru and knows exactly who he is. So amongst all this fighting, she stands still and delivers this chilling statement. There are those who act tough to their very dying breath, and those who make desperate latch-ditch efforts to plead for their lives. Then there are those who lie to themselves that they've come to terms with their own deaths. Gabimaru the Hollow, it's true. There is a massive hole inside of you, and after hearing you detail your entire history, it's really no wonder. However, you've also told me a lie. You do feel an attachment to life, Gabimaru. Or should I say, you love your wife. Gabimaru, along with the audience, coming to this realization was quite bizarre, You've been wondering the entire episode why exactly he couldn't die, or why he's fighting for his life right now when the entire episode he was claiming to want to die. But after experiencing Sagadi's monologue, it all starts to click now. Gabimaru did in fact want to die, I'm not going to refute that, but he did not want to die nearly as much as he wanted to live, and that makes perfect sense. That's why he was bracing himself during every execution, and that's why now in this current moment he's fighting for his life. He wanted something to live for, and that something was his wife. Taking a life isn't an easy burden to bear. Even people in the military are plagued with years of PTSD from just one fatality in combat. So with Gabimaru being a highly trained assassin who has killed over thousands of people, the weight he has to carry every day must be unbearable. So in order to stay as an elite shinobi as he is, Gabimaru not only had to desensitize himself to murder, but had to desensitize himself to emotions in general. But when Gabimaru finally married Yui did something in him that he couldn't really recognize. It was through the soft touches of his wife, the cute kisses that she gives him on occasion, and the almost wholesome-like things that she says to him on a daily basis. This is what made Gabimaru feel something. But he didn't know quite yet. Gabimaru wasn't entirely sure what he was feeling, as he was still a highly trained shinobi taught to not show any emotions at all. But over the time, Yui's words got to him. Over the time, Gabimaru became a more compassionate and emotional person, and while this compassion and emotion isn't as normal as we would see today, it's a long way from Gabimaru's elite assassin days. And Yui even points this out. In a flashback from Gabimaru's past, she kisses him on the cheek, and then Gabimaru blushes. She then replies by saying, "If you are Gabimaru the Hollow, why do you blush every time I kiss you?" Gabimaru's wife is making him feel something, and while he can't put his finger on it quite yet, he knows that it's something pure. He knows that it's something euphoric, and whatever this feeling he's feeling is better than any other feeling he's had in his entire accursed and dreaded life. And this is why he'll risk anything for her. He left the village not because he wanted to kill his wife, he left the village because he wanted to run away with Yui and start a new life, a life filled with love, compassion, those deep down feelings that Gabimaru can't quite express yet. Yui once said that true courage is being true to one's emotions, and for Gabimaru to abandon his life as a deadly shinobi and run away to live a nice, calm, and peaceful life with his wife is the truest display of courage of all. Because he knows deep down he doesn't want to keep living this life. He knows deep down that he does not want to keep killing people. He knows that deep down that it's normal to not want to be an assassin. But Gabimaru convinced himself that he was someone void of feeling emotions. I mean, hell, his nickname was Gabimaru the Hollow. He's somebody who couldn't feel anything. He was just merely a doll for the Iwagakure village meant to kill thousands of people. But this wasn't true. Gabimaru in fact wasn't hollow, and Gabimaru can absolutely feel emotions, and the strongest emotion he's feeling is the one he's been burying deep down inside of his heart for his whole life. And this is what happens when you get consumed by hollowness, and this is what happens when you get full of emptiness. You begin to drown yourself in these negative ideals and philosophies and emotions. You forget to recognize that the positive ones are still there. But as Gabimaru sunk deeper and deeper, he began to kill more and more people, thus expanding the darkness inside of him. But once in a dark maze, the only way out is to follow the light. And his light was love. His light was Yui. Yui offered him a way out of that dark path and gave him a helping hand into a brighter one. And this is why he fights in episode 1. This is why against all odds he will not let himself die, because even his deepest subconscious knows she is worth fighting for. And this perfectly explains one's will to live. No matter how far gone you may feel, the exit is always there. No matter how lost you may be in the abyss of emptiness, the light of better days will always find you without fail. There is always something to live for, whether it's for friends, family, a loved one, your art, your passion, your goals. These are all valid reasons. That emptiness is something we all feel, and in the worst cases is something we're consumed by. But that doesn't mean we ourselves are empty. It's quite the opposite. Us as humans are full of emotions and attachments that make those hollow times feel a lot more crowded. So when you're out feeling empty, go out and find that light, because after all, you are never hollow. Thank you.